All right, we are here with John Fugelsang, comedian, radio host, TV personality, true Renaissance man.
Out-of-work actor is what I go by.
Also out-of-work actor. But you are a guy who pretty much does everything that one can do in the biz.
Yes, I guess so. Short of scat singing, puppet shows, and bondage porn, I've pretty much dipped my toe in everything.
Singing puppet show. Do they even exist?
Is that still?
I don't. You can still. Van Morrison's a good scat singer, yeah, but that means something different in the LBGT world, doesn't it?
Actually,
yeah, sorry.
That is where my mind.
Don't you love it when you have an old jazz reference and the perverts take it all wrong?
Yeah.
My God,
it's a fine line between old jazz and perversion.
Yeah, indeed it is.
Well, actually, this sort of gets
and a messy one in some cases. Please,
exactly.
This gets to something. So if someone is doing a little research on you, as I was doing before, and I type in your name in Google, and you know how it pops up little suggestions.
I'm horrified what you might have seen.
Oh dear,
yes.
Was it the big one?
Well, number 3 is John Fugelsang gay.
Yes.
But you are not a gay man, in fact.
No, but like Jan Wenner, I'm saving some pleasures for my midlife crisis. So we'll see how it goes. Yeah.
But why do you think that happens? You talk a lot about gay issues on your show.
Well, you just answered it. Yeah, I mean, I do, and I talk about it from a biblical perspective.
Right.
My mom is an ex-nun, and my father was a Franciscan. And I could not afford the therapy that required, so I became a comedian. And I know what the Bible says about same-sex relationships, both Old and New Testament, and I know that you cannot use the Bible to say that same-sex relationships are wrong. And I have debated this with everybody from Jerry Falwell to various modern clowns of the right. You know, I don't know if they're saying it as I've been called gay as both an insult and a compliment. So
we use it as a compliment around here, but
for the most
part,
the
other people usually.
Well, brilliant, good, I'll take it. But yeah, I've seen that myself because I think someone saw me, walking with my mom in Florida and did that whole post of whether I was gay because I was walking my mother somewhere, and it's not like I was taking her to an award show.
Right.
I mean, then I'd understand.
It was
but
on
seriously.
like Answers.com or Wiki Answers or something.
That's so funny. Well, there you go. Keep them guessing.
Yeah.
So
I guess but I am confused. So there's that.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, that's good to know.
But you're existentially confused, not confused about your sexuality.
Well, yeah. I mean, I would always say is I live in Greenwich Village. My best friend is gay. I hang out in gay bars. That's where all the cool women are. I'm a straight guy who loves gay guys.
So can you break down for us in like 30 to 45 seconds the biblical argument why that does not really stand on itself?
Well, I'll say that Jesus never said a damn thing about gay people, and I can tell you a story that proves he had no problem with it historically, but most people fall back on the book of Leviticus.
Right.
I mean, I can give you 30 seconds on each part they use. There's about 6 or 7 passages that are used to justify homophobia. There's 6 or 7 passages in the Bible that reference things that might be same-sex contact. None of them refer to consensual adult committed relationships or consensual adult relationships. And there's 4,000 references to helping the poor. What do you think the conservatives in America care about more? The 4,000 references to helping the poor? These are the people who think that Jesus wants you to help the poor by voting against any program that might help the poor because they don't understand Jesus plus democracy equals you can do a lot. So instead, they don't want a government based on Christian values. They want a government based on the human id and its fears and prejudices. And you cannot claim to be a follower of Jesus and hate on gay people.
Yeah.
Sodom and Gomorrah is a story about public gang rape of angels. Hilarious shit. I'll tell you what it's really about if you want. And the Leviticus, which is where most of it comes from, is the most hypocritically deployed part of the Bible. Then St. Paul was talking about, St. Paul said a word in Aramaic that was meant soft, meaning weak, but in the 20th century it was translated to be homosexual. Right. So they say, so Jesus is clearly against gay people because St. Paul said soft, men are bad.
By the way, I like
all
that
stuff like that.
I like that you're bouncing between New and Old Testament. You're not taking any favorites.
And I don't mean to offend anybody by using the term Old Testament either, but there's no way you can use the New Testament. St. Paul was the guy with all the sex hang-ups, not Jesus. Jesus didn't say a thing about gay people, abortion, or premarital sex. Jesus is like this incredibly liberal celebrity with this incredibly right-wing conservative PR guy. He's Paul. And a lot of theologians believe that Paul may have been a closeted gay man, which explains all of his hang-ups about his body and his unholy urges. You look at this, and I met John Shelby Spong, who's one of my favorite theologians. He was the Archbishop of the Diocese of Newark. And I said, how can this guy be so accepting, St. Paul, so accepting, forgiving, and loving of these sinners, but so disgusted when it comes to the unholy urges of his own sinful flesh? And the bishop just said, Paul's clearly gay. He's closeted. It's the first century. He's a conservative Jew. He had a religious conversion, and he couldn't come out and say it. Plus, these guys all thought the world was going to end in their lifetime. So when they're saying don't have sex, don't have sex, don't have sex, it's not that the body's bad. They thought Jesus was going to come back and end the world. Right. So don't make any babies. It's all a game of telephone tag.
Right.
Remember we would play telephone?
Yeah.
30 kids line up in a queue, and the first kid whispers, "My dog has fleas." And the last kid hears, "My testicles are full of angry blue ferrets." This is how the Bible is written. Jesus says, "Love your enemies." Rick Santorum hears, "Nuke Iran."
Yeah.
And that's how it's always been.
How much of this did you learn from your parents? Did they interpret the Bible pretty rigidly, or did they come around as they got older?
Well, my parents, I like to say, were very, very conservative liberals. My dad didn't want us to be Republicans, but he damn sure dressed us like them. And they hadn't lived as normal people since the 50s. And so we're growing up in the 70s, and I had the plaid checkered pants and the Buzz haircut and the Clark Kent glasses and the bow tie. My third grade class picture is like 27 little Allman Brothers and Buddy Holly's inbred cousin. But my dad, when I was really little, he pulled me out of bed late one night. I'd asked to stay up late to watch a TV show. He wouldn't let me. Then he yanked me out of bed to my shock, and I thought, oh, Dad's cool after all. He's going to let me watch my Battlestar Galactica. And instead, he wanted me to watch with him on the late news the footage of Jimmy Carter signing the Camp David peace accord with Israel and Egypt. Now, he couldn't believe that an American Christian had helped bring peace to one corner of the Middle East, and he wanted his kid to witness a Christian, Jew, and Muslim embracing in peace and brotherhood. And to him, that was everything the Bible and Christianity and America could and should be.
Yeah.
And then I grew up to discover what it actually was in this country, which is, a lot of wonderful Christians, a lot of great people of faith, a lot of really positive, progressive, loving, open-hearted people, and a lot of douchebags screaming at women outside clinics. And what do you think makes it onto the news more?
Yeah.
The decent people of faith, both gay and straight, or, the godless hypocrite Philistines who just want to put somebody down.
And this always drives me crazy when they say people of faith, meaning you believe in some sort of religion or deity, and that somehow implies that the rest of us
are faithless.
Are faithless. And yet I'm not a believer per se, but I have great faith in humanity.
Yeah, exactly. It's obnoxious. And plus they say it when they don't mean it. Like, whenever somebody thinks they see the Virgin Mary in a bowl of chili, and you'll see on the news, thousands of faithful flock to pray in the yard. I'm like, they're not faithful. These people don't have faith. They want proof.
Yeah.
If you have faith, what the hell do you need to see the Virgin Mary or Jesus on a Pop-Tart? You don't need that shit if you have faith. You go about your day and be a good person. That's faith.
Why is it always
you
in
need
grilled
proof.
cheese?
I know, right?
It's always grilled cheese.
And it's hanging in a casino somewhere. The opposite of faith isn't doubt, it's certainty. So these smug motherfuckers who know everything, and Jesus is holding pom-poms for them on the sidelines, they're exactly the people Jesus warned you about. And, Christ came out against public prayer in Matthew 6:5 when he said, don't trust the jerk-offs on the corner, preaching and posturing. They just want to be seen. I paraphrase in the Aramaic slightly. So, the more and when I got out of the Catholic Church and began reading more about the Bible and researching more and following the spirit of my father and his beliefs, I found that, because my parents stayed in the church, but they were the Catholics who were praying for a better pope. You know what I mean? They were the pro-gay marriage, the pro-help the poor, anti-death penalty Catholics who stuck around waiting for women priests and married priests, because all that shit is made up. None of that stuff's in the Bible. That all comes from, hang-ups of old greedy men. And so they stayed in it. When I got out and began really reading a lot about Jesus historically and focusing more on his teachings than on the magic tricks we use to get kids into this shit, Jesus only spoke in metaphor and parable. It's so hard, though, for his right-wing followers to read the Bible as metaphor and parable.
Yeah.
I don't give a rat's ass about how many lepers he healed. It's great, but, Houdini was a great Jewish magician too. What matters is the teachings. And Thomas Jefferson, in his lifetime, published a Bible where he actually cut out all the miracles, anything he couldn't prove, and only published the life and teachings of Jesus. When cutting and pasting really meant something.
When that was like a literal, that took time.
Yeah, can you imagine? And he published it. Can you imagine a president acknowledging that book exists today?
Yeah.
Jesus without the magic tricks, just the love.
Yeah.
All right, we're talking to John Fugelsang, and I have to ask you, because you debate this stuff with so many people. You've been on Politically Incorrect a bunch of times, and you've talked to like the Jerry Falwells of the world. Who are your favorite people to debate this stuff with?
I really like conservative people who understand that it's important that progressives and conservatives get along in the media. You know, I always wish that the news media could be more like Fox Sports or ESPN, where you can see, only in American sports programming can you see men disagreeing passionately, but they still get along.
Right.
There's still a sense of camaraderie
Yeah.
and fellowship. I do Soledad O'Brien's show most mornings on CNN with Will Cain, who is wrong about everything, but he's a nice guy.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that we get along well. So, you know, things like that. There's a lot of nasty people, but, you know, I've worked with some really nasty conservatives, and I just go into it saying, I'm going to be your lefty progressive Christian, you know, godless pal. And the trick is to just be nice, because they want to fight, and I'm not going to play that shit with them.
How much of it is showbiz, though? Because I watch, you know, Ann Coulter go on these shows, and I just wonder if when they go to commercial break, is she just like, all right, like, can you turn it off?
Yeah, she's really nice. I've met her. She's really nice. But, you know, I think that she's totally painted herself into a corner. When all you do is sell hate, and that's all she does. She's not constructive. Her books aren't about what she loves. Her books are about demonizing the people she hates.
Yeah.
And when you do that, you are painting yourself into a corner professionally and spiritually. If Ann Coulter came out today and wrote a book about how we all have to get along, her career would be over, because the nasty little base that she's carved out for herself would reject her for it. And I think she believes it too, but, like, you know, she tries to be this friend of the LGBT community, and it's disgusting. We've all heard stories of Ann Coulter walking into a bar in West Hollywood and everybody walks out because fuck you. How dare you?
You know,
if you're a gay person or a gay-friendly person and you're trying to make Mitt Romney the president instead of Barack Obama, fuck you. You're a terrible person, and you deserve to be scorned. If you're a gay man and you're saying, well, I vote my pocketbook, so I want Barack, I want Mitt Romney, fuck you. You're a horrible gay person, and you're trying to drag the rest of the world back into the closet, and you would rather see your own love criminalized. So piss off.
Can I just say, those were the two best fuck yous we've ever had on the show.
I know. I never curse when I do SiriusXM.
I appreciate that.
You said them both slightly differently, but each of them had a point. But what do you think?
Thank you.
That some
I had
of
a bit
this,
of an umlaut on the second one.
Yeah, but do you think that some of this goes to something really deep in the human psyche? Because, for example, right now they keep talking about how CNN's ratings are so bad, and CNN does,
I know, since they hired me.
Well, they try to do, you know, the liberal versus the conservative. Versus if you go on MSNBC, generally you're going to get the left stuff, and Fox you're going to get the right. So that for some reason we don't even
I would take issue with everything you just said.
Okay,
because Fox News isn't conservative; it's pro-Republican Party. It's not conservative. If real conservatives would have kicked George Bush to the curb in 2004. They are not conservative. They are neocons. MSNBC is kind of liberal. I consider them pro-Democratic Party. You got a few liberals there, but, you know, and I love MSNBC. I like all their programming. I like their entire primetime and evening lineup. And I don't think either of those parties deserve those labels anymore, because the Democratic Party's not liberal. I mean, they're more liberal than the Republicans, but when Dick Cheney is for marriage equality 5 years before Barack Obama, when Bill Clinton balances a budget 8 years in a row, but no Republican president's done it once since Nixon, when George Bush can triple AIDS funding to Africa, when Barack Obama can be the best Republican president we've possibly ever had since World War II, I don't really see how the labels conservative and liberal do anything but divide us. I like rich people. I just don't like dicks. And, you know, there's rich dicks and poor dicks. And there's, you know, and like these people that are funneling all this money into Mitt Romney's campaign because they think that, you know, they don't care about America. I mean, they want to loot the treasury. They don't want to pay taxes. They want a nation of serfs. And Mitt Romney's campaign is proof that America is like a restaurant, that the 1% is the mob, and they're burning the place down for the insurance money.
Ben, I'm a little unclear who he's supporting in the election.
Yeah, right.
Oh, I'm supporting Barack Obama. I am supporting Barack Obama.
Okay. I just couldn't quite.
But if you're in a safe blue state, you should vote third party if you want.
Yeah.
I'm not usually this caffeinated, by the way. I'm trying to chill out.
We're loving it. Wait, can we do a little fluffy stuff though?
Oh, please! I'm like turning into I'm like turning into Tom Hartman on crack over here. Let's goof it up.
Yeah, let's goof it up a little.
Because people might not know, you co-hosted America's Funniest Videos with Daisy Fuentes.
Yes, I did.
You took over.
That.
Yeah, I did it for 2 years. I was the wrong guy for that job.
Why?
I was in my 20s, and I was really I took myself really seriously, and I didn't know how to just lie back and enjoy it. I didn't know how to just have a good time with it. It was I couldn't enjoy how fluffy it was.
Well, did you feel like you had to be the smart one? Because she got such a bad rap for being a model and just being sort of silly.
She got a bad rap for how they dressed her on the show. I was doing that show, and I'd have women walk up to me in every city, moms going, "Why does Daisy dress like a whore?" Like, I don't pick out the outfits, but I think she's actually a pretty smart girl, and I like her a lot. I enjoyed working with her, and it was the best crew I ever worked with, but after a season and a half, I just knew I was the wrong guy for it. I didn't feel like I got a chance to be anything close to who I really was, and it frustrated me a lot, and I got unhappy, and it showed on the air. And I was 26. I took myself way too seriously.
Yeah, so. I mean, that's the comedian's, or it's the artist's dilemma. Like, they're giving you money and a network gig, and
yeah, it wasn't until years later that I really learned, like, you can do stuff like that to subsidize the work you want to do. I mean, I did a show I did a pop culture chat show for the TV Guide channel. Yeah. And it was once a week. Nobody ever saw it, but I did it to work with Deborah Wilson from Mad TV because I was madly in love with her. And I didn't, I'm not into pop culture, but I was burning out on politics. And I thought, let me make fun of Britney Spears and the Kardashians for a while. And in doing so, I was able to, go off and be an artist in residence at Dartmouth University and develop my solo show and have an off-Broadway run. And I was like doing bad TV to subsidize good theater. And that's the artist's solution to the dilemma is do the work you got to do to subsidize the work you need to do.
Right.
Well, we've taken this whole thing around, I think.
Well, but speaking of your solo shows, you have some shows coming up.
Yeah,
let's
talk
about those.
Shows.
I do, yes. Guilt, a Love Story, which is the show I was just talking about, which is about my parents, how my parents met, and my father fell in love with this southern nun that he could never confess his love to, and he carried a torch for 10 years while she went off to Africa to work with lepers as a nurse in the jungles of Malawi. Wow. And so it's both their love story, and then it's me as their adult child just fucking everything up. It began and the show begins with when the doctors told my father he had a few weeks to live, and my mother committed the greatest act of parental or Catholic guilt of all time. Took me aside late at night and said, will you please set a date to marry your girlfriend to keep my husband alive?
Oh.
And that's how it begins. So it follows, it jumps around in time and tells a lot of different stories at once. So we'll be doing that in Minneapolis for Father's Day weekend, a very special Father's show on the 16th at the Pantages Theater. And my director, Pam McKinnon, just got a Tony nomination for directing Clybourne Park on Broadway last month.
Well, we'll find out about that this Sunday then.
Yeah.
Rocking.
Any final words for LGBTs voting for Romney?
No, I've already said the two words for them, but I will I will say that if you believe that one part of the Bible in Leviticus that says that being gay is a sin and you shall not lie with a man, that's an abomination. The same part also says that you have to execute people who are adulterers, which includes divorce and remarriage. So if you really believe being gay is a sin because of Leviticus, you owe it to God to kill Rush Limbaugh 3 times.
Amen.
I didn't write the rules, man.
Yeah, that doesn't go well for
which you shouldn't do.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, John Fugelsang, at John Fugelsang on Twitter, and
Thank you.
We say this about a lot of our guests, but you can literally be found everywhere. I mean, you're all over the place on TV and everywhere else, and we appreciate you coming in. And next time we'll open the chat up even more.
Let's do it.
See what else happens.
I'd love to explain what Sodom and Gomorrah is really about next time. It's really fun to be here. Thank you.
Well, all our listeners will Google it, so it'll be okay.
Well, you have a great show. Thanks for having me here.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, John.
The Six Pack.